There's a notion that was on an episode that I did recently called psychological safety. Having the safety to know that I'm empowered to make the right decision. If it's not the right decision, I'm not getting in trouble for it. I'm probably going to be given a pat on the back that you tried everything that you could. You tried to make the right decision. Let's learn from this. That psychological safety opens up the floodgates for us to do things that we haven't done before. And it sounds like you were kind of in the non-performance era, and then 6 months later, it was the script, it was tight control, it was here's how we manage customer support, and then the empowerment, the leverage, the opportunity, the psychological safety that you put into place. Is that a good articulation there? Or what else is the difference that made that transition? Because everything you talked about didn't take extra money.
It takes leadership, it takes passion, it takes a focus on your staff. I think you nailed it on the head in terms of psychological safety. That was an agenda that's been in our business plan from day one, creating let's chat sessions, open door policies, town halls, where it's always about the voice. I think it's very important for our staff to use their voice, and as long as they use it with respect, and there could be some frustrations there, but we don't want to get it past a certain line because we're still in the place of business. But having said that, if there's something that you're not comfortable with, you have concerns or questions, use your voice. It's not a problem. Let's hear about it. Let's talk about it and figure it out. I could be wrong 100%. I'm never always right. So it's an issue getting perspective, pivoting, and doing what's right for our team, because we're here as a team. And it's funny when we talk about our team, one of those parameters about success as a team, we have Toronto Public Service Week, and it's a celebration of public services, what have you. And we have something called the Tournament of Champions within the city of Toronto. And that's something in which we have certain tasks that each division has to do. Take pictures of executives, communicate, so on and so forth. Basically, it's healthy competition amongst divisions. And we said there are 44 of them. And for the 9 years that I was at the city of Toronto, the least in terms of ranking that we were was number 3. In many cases, we were number 1 or number 2. In a smaller division, because some divisions are thousands of people, we're up to about 300 people that are in our division. We're still number 1 in the city of Toronto in terms of beating the determinants of champions. That's because it's about pride. It's about cohesiveness. It's about our brand. It's about confidence. It's about trust. And then talking about trust in terms of the public, you look at CSAS informations and so forth. So I remember looking at the information we had prior to, I would say we're at 85%. And I know the Toronto Star questioned that. They weren't confident of that number. And I said, I'm very confident of that number. And they said, they're going to do their own poll. And respectfully, after they did their own poll, they came back and said, we have 85%. And I said, awesome, because I really felt that that was the right number. We do, in fact, and then interesting enough, once we digitized the services and transformed the services, we're now in the low to mid 90s in terms of customer satisfaction. So in terms of trust and confidence, those are pretty good indicators that we're in the right street. Now, other areas that we can improve, absolutely. But I do believe that as an organization, as a front end brand of the city of Toronto, that 3-in-1 entity and the customer experience division really has done a very, very good job of building that trust and really transforming from that inside out ethos to the outside in, and really understanding what the resident needs, what the visitor needs, what the business needs versus what our divisions want to dictate to them.
Did you talk about the needs of these individual groups? In the private sector, there's something known as customer obsession. Amazon's probably like the biggest example of that, just completely customer obsessed organizations. Does that have a role in what we're talking about here in your CSAT scores and the satisfaction levels and the achievements that you've made? Customer obsession in the public sector?
You asked some really, really good questions. And I would say that the difference between the private sector and the public sector is that obsession is actually mandated as part of a cultural commitment in the private sector. We're actually judged, paid by those KPIs that really drive those customer experience initiatives. In the city, it's still a little bit 44 different organizations, different interpretations of the customer, and that negotiation of that is still evolving. So I think that some areas are more obsessed than others, but it will take some time for that to become a social norm or a cultural norm within the city of Toronto.